Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're pacing in your apartment at midnight, stomach rumbling, craving the cheesy, greasy balm that only a hot pizza can bring. You call your favorite joint, you choose your toppings, extra cheese, pepperoni, mushrooms, and you think, tonight, this is going to be perfect. Cultured flavor, warm crust, bubbling mozzarella. But what happens instead can be a descent into absolutely unexpected terror, true stories of pizza delivery gone wrong, to give you nightmares and deepen your appreciation for the simple act of a doorbell ringing and a box full of warmth making it to your doorstep. Let me take you to the first story, a humid summer's evening in a city trapped in heat. A young couple, Sarah and Raul, looked forward to pizza as their sacred weekly ritual. Music played softly, candles flickered, and the order was placed. They tracked the driver, saw the little icon move ever so slowly across the map, making stops, turning corners. It was nearing an hour when the doorbell finally rang. Raul dashed to open it, excitement fluttering in his chest. He found the delivery driver, drenched in sweat, holding a pizza box, but hesitating. The stench hit him first, a sour, cloying odor that made his stomach twist. The pizza inside was different. The cheese was thick with mold, edges curled into black fur, pepperoni glistening but warped, no longer appetizing but grotesque. Sarah gasped. They stared, speechless. The driver mumbled something about, had to drive through storm water, the cooler broke, before slamming the box shut and letting them stare at the ruined circle of crust. Sarah cried. Raul pressed for a refund, demanded to throw it away, but their night was shattered. The comfort they sought in pizza replaced instead with nausea, betrayal, a chilling reminder that sometimes what you desire becomes what you dread. Then another time, in a neighborhood where streetlights flicker and corners are shadowed. A man called Tony had ordered a pizza for his daughter's birthday. 20 balloons, streamers, a cake, and pizza were the pillars of the evening. The delivery driver arrived 15 minutes late, rain speckling his jacket but eyes darting. Tony noticed a rip open in the pizza box, just a jagged tear along the top lid. Curious, he lifted the lid and recoiled. Someone had already taken a slice, a half-eaten slice perched on the cheese, toppings askew as though someone in the delivery kitchen, or worse, the hands meant to deliver, couldn't resist temptation. The pepperonis were disturbed, the cheese around the bite marks caved in. His daughter stared, tears welling up, birthday joy turning into awkward disgust. Tony confronted the driver, who stammered apology, claimed mix UPS. But the birthday candles flickered with sadness, the slice taken a symbol of betrayal, trust eroded in those few moments. They tossed the pizza, called the store, left sobbing, carrying more than empty boxes. They carried heartbreak, that sense that the simplest pleasure had been violated. In a small town where everyone knows everyone, where you expect kindness at 15 steps, lived Michelle, who had just come back from losing her job. She had promised herself some indulgence, something to break the tension tied in her chest. She ordered her favorite margarita, extra basil, wood oven-style crust. The phone call came later. We're remodeling our kitchen. It may take longer. She shrugged, waited, hunger gnawing. 2 hours passed. When the delivery driver finally arrived, he seemed shell-shocked, glazed by exhaustion. The pizza box was warm, not hot. She opened it and saw a crust so hard it cracked like stale bread. The cheese had separated, greasy pools forming. Her basil wilted, brown at the edges. There was no aroma, no sing-song sizzle of cheese melting. She picked up a slice, felt the rigid crust, the firm cheese resisting. Tears welled as frustration and longing mingled. It wasn't just pizza she'd ordered. It was comfort, a temporary peace. But the box held a mockery, a cold, hard substitute, a promise broken. She paid anyway, because she had no energy left to protest. Sometimes pain lies in the silence of acquiescence. Then I remember a tale of Ricardo, living in an apartment building with ancient elevators and thin walls. He ordered pizza for his son's soccer game. Everyone would arrive at the door. Kids bickering, balls dropped, laughter in the hallway. The driver never showed. He called the restaurant, no one answered. He waited. His son's mouth watered, his friends asking if the pizza was coming. Hours later, at 2 a.m., a tired knock sounded. A different driver, fed up, sweaty, lost. "I couldn't find the apartment," he said. "The address?" "Exactly the same as in the order." No note, no call. The pizza was limp and soggy, cheese slid off crust, toppings lost their spark. The game had ended, the party dissolved. Children left, friends gone. Ricardo's son had gone to bed hungry, betrayed by the idea that food could show up when promised. The driver's apology tasteless, the pizza cold. Ricardo wanted to scream, to cry, to demand justice, but only did all three in his chest. Hunger became heartbreak. There's one more that always lingers. A young woman, Priya, in a foreign city, far from family, nostalgia pressing heavy in her throat. She ordered pizza on a Friday, just the smell, the bubbling cheese, the tomato sauce, reminders of home. She sent messages to friends, told them to come over. She burst with anticipation. But the delivery driver arrived at midnight, knocked gently, then violently at once, startled her from sleep. When she opened the door, he grimaced and held out the box. She noticed the driver's shoes were caked with something dark, matted. The box had stains, grease, yes, but also something else, brownish, smeared across the cardboard bottom. She gasped. Without a word, she peeked inside. The pizza, ingredients messed, toppings sliding, the entire thing glistening in a sheen she couldn't name. She recoiled. The driver stepped back, hands raised. Sorry, got caught in traffic. Box slid, spill happened. But this was more than spill. It was contamination in her mind. Her breath caught, stomach turned. She wished the floor would open, swallow her whole. She dialed the restaurant, her voice shaking, friends gathering behind her, candlelight from phone screens lining the room. Eventually they threw the whole thing away. Priya, tears in her red eyes, cried not just for the ruined pizza, but for the loss of home, of comfort in a strange place, for the trust in just a meal, broken by something as simple and universal as meant to bring joy. And maybe you're thinking, these are tragic or odd but rare. But horror sometimes lives in the mundane. Once in a suburban home, a family, kids giggling after homework, parents exhausted from long workdays, ordered pizzas. Kids asked for anchovies. Parents compromised on extra veggies. 30 minutes in, there was a knock. The youngest child rushed to the door, staggering in slippers. It was the driver, wearing headphones, something blaring, eyes half closed. He dropped the box and shuffled off without a word. Inside they found not one normal pizza, but two. On one, the anchovies were missing. On the other, the toppings piled on mixed horridly. Olives on half with pepperoni, pineapple drowning in unexpected mushrooms. The cheeses on both were different shades, one burnt, the other pale. They tasted each piece. No joy. Sting of disappointment. Parents forced down slices, so as not to waste. Kids sat at the table, faces twisted in dismay. They looked at each other, they didn't speak. Once a pizza is joy, but when expectation is so carefully shaped, betrayal cuts deepest where love should lie, in sharing a meal. I've heard a story from a regular delivery driver, named Jackson. For years he worked nights, rain or shine. One especially dreadful winter's night, roads slick with icy film, snow blowing, visibility nil. Jackson had orders stacked, homing in on a remote, forgotten lane. He slid off the road twice, cursed, wiped his visor, kept going. When he reached the house, no lights were on. He knocked. No answer. His phone died. He carried the pizzas back to his car where the heater rumbled vainly. The cheese hardened, the sauce separated, the crust soggy with melted condensation in the box. When he finally found a payphone, yes, payphone, and called the base, the restaurant told him client had ordered takeout, not delivery. He drove back through the storm, the ruined pizzas wobbling on the passenger seat, backsack soaked, boots frozen. He ate nothing that night. But the people waiting? Maybe they never got their dinner. Maybe they never knew just how close hunger and desperation walk hand in hand when simple trust fails. Sometimes the horror is not the food, but the people, the treatment, the neglect. A woman named Aisha, pregnant, craving olives and cheese, had ordered a margarita plus olives after a long shift. Her husband waited with her, supporting her tired frame. A knock, a rush. The driver, flustered, shuffled in. She could smell cigarettes, sweat, chemical cleaner. He set the pizza box down on their pristine kitchen table and walked off before she could say thank you. She opened the box. She saw olives only on half the pizza. Most of the cheese had been scraped off in chunks, sauce leaking, patches of burnt crust. She tasted a piece and felt sharp bitter char, burnt basil, ash. She cried, not only because the pizza was inedible, but because she'd so wanted something simple to be perfect. She paid fully, though nothing in the box resembled what she'd envisioned. The sorrow was in the longing, what was promised by the menu, by the home, by love, unfulfilled in greasy disappointment. People say, it's just pizza. But for so many, it's a ritual of comfort, of reward, of gathering. When pizza fails in these ways, when it's cold, mutilated, mishandled, it becomes something more than food. Disappointment, violation, heartbreak, kindness betrayed, joy eaten away. Sometimes the terror isn't horror in the supernatural sense. It's the horror of shame and the horror of need unmet. A teenager in his dorm room, scraping together coins, orders a pizza after failing a test, his hands shake waiting. A knock. He opens the box, finds plastic wrap where cheese should be, toppings sliding off a soggy base. He stifles tears, throws away his money, his hunger, his pride. He never orders again from that place. Or he does and always fears. And let me speak of the driver who delivered to an elderly woman, widowed, alone, her only companion a cat. She ordered a simple cheese pizza. The driver arrived, saw the picture of her late husband over the mantel, his wedding photo still smiling back. He thought of her longing. But instead of warm food, she got cold crust, slices half-cut, cheese stuck to the box, edges burnt. She stared, her heart clenched. The box closed with a sigh. She ate half a slice, forcing it down, because hunger was stronger than refusal. Tears mingled with sauce on her lips. She called the restaurant, voice soft, apologizing for calling them at that hour. There was no apology of equal weight to the loss in her chest. True horror in these stories lies not in violence or gore, but in intimate betrayals. It lies in the moment your hopes alight, hot crust, the pull of cheese, the taste, the aroma, and something so small, so taken for granted, care, attention, snaps. The crust burns, toppings missing, someone took a bite, the cooler failed, the driver late or absent. And suddenly, you are gasping at the hollow of what should have been joy. Hunger, yes physically, but deeper. Hunger for trust, for being seen, for being treated well even in something as common as ordering dinner. Maybe you've had your own. That slice that tasted stale, that sauce faded, that drive time stretched interminably. Maybe you waited in the cold, knocking nothing. Maybe the driver called you names. Maybe they stormed off. Maybe you thought about contesting the bill, but didn't because you felt small. Every time delivery fails, remember it's more than loss of flavor. It's loss of faith. It's the promise of warmth turned into bitter refusal. And still, people keep ordering. Because pizza is hope. It's longing made edible. And that's why every horror story cuts deeper. When faith is broken, you feel it in your bones, you taste it in the ash of burnt crust, you smell it in the stale cardboard, you touch it in the cold slice that won't melt. Tonight, as you consider pizza, think of those who opened the box and saw mold instead of cheese. The birthday cake that waited, the children who stared, the couple who cried, the lonely widow, the foreigner yearning for home. Pizza, for many, means belonging. And when it fails, this food failure echoes deeper. Isolation, disappointment, heartbreak. Yet still we call up, we press the buttons, we order the extra cheese because maybe this time it will be right. Because one perfect slice can heal more than an imperfect feast can wound.